12. Just play the music.
It says live up there. Does that mean we're live?
Live, go.
What?
Go. The music.
All right.
Broadcasting from Cincinnati, you're listening to the Ringside Reporter Podcast. All the news from the world of boxing right here.
Well, I'm talking to you the way I want to talk to you.
Now, here's your host, Eric Lorda.
Welcome to the Ringside Reporter post-fight show, Santa Cruz versus Frampton. It's good to have everybody here tonight, and tonight we'll be going over the fights on the card. Just do a quick post-fight show to see how everybody liked it and see what everybody thought of the card. We'll get right into it. Joe, I tell you what, I thought the fight was pretty amazing. I thought, if you would have told me at the beginning of the night, if Santa Cruz throws 1,000 punches, then that's the fight. The fight's over. You know what I mean? I think he's got the fight. He's going to win the decision. Not so much, not tonight, man. Frampton landed the harder shots. I thought he landed the cleaner shots. It was just it was a pretty amazing performance. And for him to be able to handle the pressure like he did, and Santa Cruz brings a lot of pressure. I mean, a lot of pressure with him. I thought that was pretty amazing. What were your thoughts on it?
Well, first of all, you guys had the shovels. You were digging the grave. We were on a 3-fight losing streak. And I already saw the casket that was picked out for me. And guess what happens? UK comes back with another world champion. You can't stop us. Let's be honest here. Santa Cruz was never in there with a guy like Kyle Frampton, a technician. As I said, a guy who can be effective while moving forward as well as moving backward. Because as you saw, he was landing beautiful counter left hooks, counter right hands. And that little tell that Santa Cruz does with that right hand all the time, that's not going to work against a really highly skilled counter puncher, a guy that can really read his opponent's mannerisms and pick up on every little intricacy that his opponent does. He can really read his opponent's offense, and he just anticipates every move that his opponent's going to make. And you saw how well he did. He varied up his attack. He was fighting very well on the inside. And even when there was space in between the two of them, his timing and his sense of awareness in terms of gauging distance properly, just having the ring instincts that he has, he was able to hold his own on the outside as well, even though he was giving up height and reach in this fight. So I just think that you saw Santa Cruz not be able to do the same things that he's used to being able to do, whereas Frampton was another day at the office for him because he had a lot more tools in the toolbox, taking nothing away from Santa Cruz, but that was the difference in this fight. Totally was a difference in this fight. I scored at 116 to 112. Some people may have had it closer. I know one judge had it 114 to 114. There was 3 swing rounds in there. So, in my opinion, giving Santa Cruz every benefit of the doubt, I would have had a 115, 113, or possibly a 114, 114 card. But I would have to really go above and beyond giving Santa Cruz the benefit of the doubt for that to happen.
Yeah, I think so. I think that I had it 115, 113, and I know you had it 116, 112. The one judge had it 114 all, then 116 and 117. I think that, overall, I thought Santa Cruz did a good job. I thought it was a close fight. I couldn't see 117, 113.
117, 111? 117,
111, I'm sorry. To me, it was a little bit too far. I think that was a little bit too far. I thought it was a closer fight than that. But, there was a lot of rounds in there that it was a tough fight to score. I mean, it really was.
Yeah. It would be interesting to see if this fight was on HBO, how it would have been commentated, number one, because Santa Cruz was throwing a lot of punches. He was moving forward. I would have loved to have seen Harold Letterman's scorecard because, him and I seem to be watching different fights an awful lot. And this is why I love this broadcast team, because They were calling the fight right down the middle. They weren't favoring Santa Cruz, even though Santa Cruz kind of was the house fighter. He was on Showtime more often than and we're more familiar with him. But, when Carl Frampton did do good things, he was commended for them. It was acknowledged by this broadcast team. So with that being said, this was a good event all in all, not just because of the fight itself, but the fight was called properly. And even Steve Farhood I think he had the same exact scorecard that I had. So, good scorers think alike. But, this is what I like about watching a fight on Showtime and not on HBO. I'm not trying to throw shade on HBO, but this was a clear indication of how the fight was going. The announcers definitely presented that to us. So what did you think, on a side note, what did you think of Lee Selby and Gary Russell Jr.? I thought Gary Russell Jr. was going to raise up on Lee Selby right there at the broadcast table when they were both being interviewed before the fight started. What did you think?
I don't understand what that was all about. What in the world? I mean, I'm watching TV. I'm kind of in and out. I just got home from the soccer game. I turned on the broadcast, and then I caught the Garcia fight, and then in between fights, I'm doing stuff. I'm getting ready and stuff. Next thing I know, I'm watching Gary Russell, and I thought, let me check this out. Then I look, and he's like, it looks like he was about to get up out of his chair and smack him or something. I don't know what the whole thing was. I didn't hear anything that Lee Selby said that was so disrespectful, or maybe he was saying it outside of the venue or something, like maybe he read it in the press. I don't know. But there was nothing that I saw from Lee Selby that would have warranted that kind of thing. And it was completely out of character. Yeah. Gary Russell, I mean, completely out of character. So, and I know he called out Lomachenko after it was all said and done. And, that's a good fight. I mean, but it isn't a gimme, that's for sure. But, I think Russell, on a side note, I think Russell poses a big problem for anybody in that division. I think he poses a big problem for anybody up above. I think styles make fights, and stylistically, like I said, I thought that Santa Cruz had a good chance to beat him. I picked him to win, and I thought Santa Cruz had a really good chance to win, and given his style and his busyness and everything, and given what Scott Quigg did to Frampton, like I said, in that last half of that fight, I thought that Santa Cruz was going to be able to bring this through the entire fight. But it turns out he didn't. But I think that Gary Russell, going back to Gary Russell, I think that a guy like Gary Russell could really give Frampton problems, because like you said, Santa Cruz has one way to fight, and it's a heck of a way. He puts that pressure on you, a la like a Sean Porter or something like that. You get Gary Russell in there, who's got just as many tools as a Jacko Frampton, and that's a dangerous fight for both guys, man.
Well, this is the thing, though, because Gary Russell is primarily a counterpuncher. We've seen Carl Frampton do both things. So once again, you have one guy, obviously, who's very athletic, taking nothing away from Gary Russell Jr., very athletic guy, very sharp puncher, decent power, but has hand problems. And, he's hurt his hands during fights, and we've seen him stop throwing punches. His volume already is out in fights, it goes down even more. So there's a lot of intangibles there if Carl Frampton fights. But again, I can see Frampton stealing rounds in that fight, just as Lomachenko did when Gary Russell decides to take those long periods of inactivity. So I got to be honest with you. I think the only guy who would really have a shot at beating Frampton, clearly, that would be Lomachenko. But again, he's at 130. So we may not see that for a while. But at 126, I think Frampton is the best. I really do. I think at 126, he's the best. And I'd love to see Rigo come up to 126 and fight Frampton. I wonder if that fight would ever happen, or if it could ever happen. Because 122 and 120, well, mostly 126. 126, as we all know, is a red-hot, fiery division. It's a real awesome division. So this fight right here just opened up the doors to a lot of other bigger fights, because you could have a rematch here. Obviously, the Lee Selby fight is on the table now. Gary Russell Jr. fight's on the table now. So this division just got a lot hotter with the addition of Carl Frampton. And once again, UK grabs another champion, baby. Take the plus 250. You guys, The Undertaker knocked on my door this afternoon. He was ready to bury me, but you guys can't stop the beat right now, and you can't stop UK boxing.
You know, I tell you, I think that if I'm Barry McGuigan, the next fight I make is going to be with Lee Selby. That's the next fight. To me, that's the next logical fight. It's the money
question
fight.
About that.
You know, it's the money fight. And I think that's what Gary Russell was so ticked off about, is that Lee Selby said that, said that about Carl Frampton wanting to fight him next, and then followed by Gary Russell or whatever the case may be. And I guess he took some, disrespect to it. Whatever, but honestly, that's the fight to make. Not only does it have a huge gate, it's got a huge, Lee Selby, known as the British Mayweather, he's a very popular fighter over there. And anytime two big UK guys get in the ring, you put the fight in the O2 over there, it's going to sell out. And not to mention, it's going to be on pay-per-view over there. It's going to be on the airwaves here. It's a good fight. It's a good fight to make. I don't know that Lee Selby beats him. I think Lee Selby has a real uphill battle there. But, that being said, man, I think it's a money fight. The fight I'd like to see, obviously, would be him and Gary Russell, because I think Gary Russell's probably the class of division. I thought that even before. I thought he would have beat Santa Cruz. And I think Gary Russell, to me, is kind of the class of the division. But, hey, if he is, Frampton's definitely not far behind, if at all. Frampton put up a great fight tonight.
Yeah. And I think, taking nothing away from Santa Cruz, but like I said before the fight, this is the guy in Frampton that can throw the changeup. Leo Santa Cruz is a guy that throws the fastball. But again, when he's throwing that fastball, he's no Nolan Ryan. He's not giving out one-hitter quitters. He's a guy who wears you down. And you'd be hard-pressed to be able to put hard shots on a guy who is as defensively skilled and defensively responsible as Carl Frampton. So going into this fight, so much was being talked about the volume. But as I said, I think that volume played right into Carl Frampton's hands, because he can throw his punches in a wide array of variations. We saw the short uppercuts, the short hooks, the long right hand. We saw the jab from the outside. We saw him, dip down and feint the right hand, but then dig the left hand to the body. And, Paulie Malignaggi mentioned that, he's pulling straight back. But I thought that was a tactic to try to suck Santa Cruz in. And on a few occasions, you saw early in the fight, Santa Cruz was landing the right hand. But as the fight wore on, he had a hard time pinning him down with that shot. So Santa Cruz, because he throws the shot so wide, and because he's somewhat repetitive, he's like a pattern type fighter, where he just comes at you like a machine gun, and he just throws everything but the kitchen sink at you, but the attack patterns are repetitive. So once you're able to gauge that timing, and Carl Frampton, being the skilled counterpuncher that he is, was gauging that timing, and he was seeing that little twitch thing with the right hand, and he knew, like, after a couple twitches that, Santa Cruz was going to try and throw it, and that's when he, kind of threw the counter left hook. And if you noticed, he was surgical with that left hand. He was surgical with that left hand tonight. He was throwing the short hook. He was like sticking him with the jab. He was throwing the short half hook, half uppercut, like a 45-degree angle type variation punch. And he was going to the body, and he was hanging in there. Supposedly, he was supposed to be the weaker of the two. He's supposed to be the smaller guy. But like I said, he's been known, or he's been criticized for fading after the 6 rounds. But I think that was due to just staying in that weight class so long and really depleting himself and not having enough in the energy stores to really put out a full 12-round effort. Whereas in this fight, he didn't look tired at all. And he was punching in the 12th round just as ferociously and throwing as many punches as he did in the first round. So I think this move up to 126 significantly helped him. And as I said, I didn't think the height and reach was going to be a problem, especially a guy like Santa Cruz who doesn't really fight tall. So this fight, played out exactly like I thought it would. I didn't expect a knockout in this fight. I thought this was just going to be a war of attrition put on by Leo Santa Cruz, but I felt as though he was going to be sucked in. He was going to be falling for traps that Frampton set for him, and he walked into a lot of counter shots, and Kyle Frampton definitely landed the cleaner shots, and his body of work, I felt, was a lot more polished than Santa Cruz's, and the judges obviously agreed with me, or at least two of them did.
I thought so too. I thought that, I didn't think Santa Cruz was going to knock him out. I really didn't. I thought that Santa Cruz would do plenty to win a decision. I thought he would take him into deep water and get Frampton tired. But what I did notice is that Frampton was by far the stronger puncher in there. I mean, when he landed a shot, and I was shocked. I mean, Santa Cruz showed some kind of chin in there because Frampton hit him with that left hook solid, and he didn't go anywhere, and he got buzzed in the second round. I thought he was staggered definitely in that second round, but I thought that Santa Cruz buzzed him a couple of times, but I don't think he did enough. I mean, he didn't clearly, Frampton didn't want to stay in a range and get hit too much. But that being said, I don't think he was hurt at all in that fight.
I think Frampton was moved once, but I think it was sort of like I think he was going that way, and the punch just pushed him in the direction that he was already going in. But I thought that, as you said, Frampton definitely landed the more telling blows, without question. So it looks as though possibly the like we said, the fight to make, the no-brainer, is going to be with Lee Selby. I don't see him going anywhere else. And then possibly a Santa Cruz rematch after that, because let's be honest, I'm not going to say this was the fight of the year, but it's definitely an honorable mention to fight of the year. It's definitely worthy of being mentioned as one of the best fights of the year. This wasn't actually a PBC fight. It was a Showtime Championship Boxing fight, but this was an Al Heyman production, so to speak, to some degree. So this is definitely a win for Al Heyman, if you will. Well, kind of like a double-edged sword, because again, there's really no winners or losers in this fight, because Leo Santa Cruz definitely, put up a great fight. Even though he lost, he showed that, he's a dogged, determined guy. He still makes for an action-packed fight. And, obviously people are definitely going to want to see him again. But let's be honest. I'm not going to say he was exposed in this fight, but what I think we did learn is if you can stand up to that pressure and you can time those wide shots, which are big ifs, then I think, the blueprint has been laid out here by Kyle Frampton. And I think I would pick Gary Russell, definitely, as you said, over Leo Santa Cruz too. I think guys who are really good counterpunchers and really slick, athletic guys, I think Santa Cruz is going to have a real hard time beating those guys. I don't think there's anyone that even closely resembles Kyle Frampton at all. And as I said, I think Scott Quigg had a lot of the attributes and, mannerisms and similarities in fighting style that Leo Santa Cruz possesses. So I think Kyle Frampton was better prepared for this fight. And again, I don't think Leo Santa Cruz had seen anything like Kyle Frampton. And I think if he sees another Kyle Frampton again, I don't think his style will be able to beat this. Will be able to beat Kyle Frampton. The only way he can beat a Kyle Frampton or a Gary Russell Jr., in my opinion, is he's got to land a one-punch knockout. And he's not that guy. He has to wear you down. So
I agree. I think that I don't know if the blueprint's been laid, because it has to take a certain fighter to be able to deal with that pressure. And you can't just put any fighter in there and say, hey, this is how you beat this guy with left hooks, or you beat him with straight right move, that kind of thing. And there's you don't really beat him like that, but it's going to take a certain kind of fighter. Like I said, a Gary Russell. And I agree with you wholeheartedly that if you get a slick fighter in there, a la Gary Russell, a la, a Lomachenko type of fighter, that they're going to have their way with Leo Santa Cruz. I would love to see, I tell you what, I want to see, obviously the next fight to be made, if I'm playing, dream matchmaker here, the next fight to be made would be him and Selby and Frampton. I would much rather see Carl Frampton and Gary Russell. To me, that's the big fight. To me, that's the fight I want to see. But the other fight that I would love to see is Leo Santa Cruz and Scott Quigg. To me, that is a good fight. That's a very entertaining fight.
That's an awesome fight.
While, this fight right here, the Frampton Santa Cruz fight, while it wasn't, may not have been fight of the year, I tell you what, it was, to me, it was just as good as Thurman Porter. I'll tell you that. I mean, I think it was
better. I think it was better than Thurman Porter.
Action-packed from bell to bell. And, everybody in Leo Santa Cruz had a lot of negativity going, a couple of fights ago, that he's not fighting anybody, about a year ago, he's not fighting anybody, this and that. Hey, man, he just took on one heck of a challenger. And a lot of people, he may not have known who Carl Frampton was. Carl Frampton is a very, very good fighter. There's no question about that. This was a solid win for him. And like I said, man, both guys, their stock went up in my book.
Well, this is why, to me, this fight was such an intriguing fight. And to me, it's probably going to be my fight of the year because I'm a guy who I'm high on skill. And what you saw in that ring tonight was really high-level, intellectual, methodical boxing. But wrapped into that was action. So you had two styles, really, that were this is what Mayweather Pacquiao was supposed to like, really, if you think about it. Because you have a high-energy guy in Santa Cruz, right? And then you have a slick counterpuncher in Carl Frampton. And I'm not going to say Carl Frampton fights exactly like Floyd Mayweather. But, again, the roles. I'm talking about the roles. Because I say you look like an elephant, that doesn't mean that you're going to have tusks and a trunk. It's just a comparison because this is definitely, the classic pressure fighter versus boxer counterpuncher matchup, and that's what Mayweather Pacquiao is supposed to be. And this is the fight that we really wanted. This is the type of fight that we needed. I don't think there was any losers tonight. Well, the fans won. Even though Santa Cruz lost his title, I think his stock still went up because he made a good account of himself, put on a great show for the fans. And as you said, I think if they do a rematch somewhere down the road in the UK, it's a can't miss. But what did you think of Mikey Garcia tonight, coming back at 135 and fighting Elio Rojas? Definitely, I know people are going to say, who's Rojas or whatever, but he's a solid guy. He's never been stopped before, to my knowledge. Former world champion at featherweight. Mikey Garcia coming off a 2.5 year layoff, and he didn't look like he missed a beat tonight at all. His timing was impeccable. Did you see anything that you thought was off with Mikey Garcia? Because I give him an A+ tonight.
I was shocked. I was absolutely shocked at his performance. Mikey Garcia, for being off two years, to come back and do what he did. And Rojas is not a bad fighter. Rojas is a really, really good fighder. And for him to come back,
he's solid. He's not a scrub.
And you know what? I thought in the first round, when you see him in the first round and everything like that, and Rojas is moving and boxing, I said, man, I tell you what, they didn't pick a soft touch to come back with, man. This guy is a solid, skilled fighter. And you could see that early on. He was a very skilled fighter. And Mikey Garcia just took him apart. I mean, that fight could have been stopped at numerous times, numerous occasions.
That was a systematic,
brutal. I mean, when he got up, when he pounded the canvas, and he got up, that fight could have been stopped. And I was thinking to myself, man, I hope his corner throws in that towel because he's not going to win this fight. He's just taking damage. Garcia's got this guy's number. There's nothing he's going to be able to do to counter this. I mean, he's going to lose this fight. There's no sense in going on because he's not going to offer up any kind of offense against me. He's not going to offer up anything. And Garcia looked amazing.
Yeah, he
I was
looked really good.
so shocked. No ring rust, no nothing. And he said before the fight, I guess he doesn't believe in ring rust. Hey, I could see that, man, because he didn't show anything. He didn't show any real flaws. I mean, he's just a good boxer, man. Just a solid fighter. I didn't know what to expect after the layoff. And coming in against that guy, a guy of this caliber, and just dismantling him, man, I don't know. I mean, he's going to be a handful for anybody.
And, this division 135 isn't really the greatest division. So with him jumping into the fray here, I think he breathes life in this division. Terry Flanagan, who I thought was the best lightweight in the world, I'm going to have to backtrack on that, even though I bleed, the Union Jack. I'm real high on, always have been. He's one of my favorite fighters. I think he's one of the best fighters in the world, pound for pound. And I'm not a pound for pound guy, but when you look at the total skill set, the athleticism, the power, the boxing, punching, fighting inside, fighting outside. I mean, there's not one thing that he doesn't do better than average when it comes to boxing. So I definitely think he's poised to take over this division. Now, when you go down the list of these guys at 135, the top guys, Jorge Linares, we've seen him worn down. We've seen him busted up. As good as a boxer as he is, and decent punching power as well, he's always like a one punch away from a TKO stoppage on cuts. We know that. He wakes up bleeding. Terry Flanagan, real high on Terry Flanagan. Love Terry Flanagan, but I just don't think he's as sharp or as highly skilled as a Mikey Garcia. I think stylistically, the one fighter that could be a problem for him is Rances Bartholomew, because this is a guy who's very patient, and he's kind of, he's slick. He's got that Cuban style, which is definitely it's hard to figure out. A lot of movement, doesn't stay still. It's hard to line him up for shots, and he's a guy who's going to want to play that counter-puncher role too. So Mikey Garcia is going to have to take the lead, which he's not afraid to do. I'm not saying that he won't take the lead in fights, but I think he's more suited to being the counter-puncher. He likes laying back and sucking guys into those shots, and I think he's more effective as the counter-puncher. So Rances Bartholomew kind of might make things uncomfortable for him. I'm not saying that he would beat Mikey Garcia, but I think he would be the most challenging test. I really do.
Yeah.
Yes, I believe – someone just asked me – I'm sorry to cut you off, Eric. Tony Ayo just asked me, is Rances PBC? I believe so. He is PBC, to my knowledge.
Yeah, I believe he is. Rances, I thought, him and Mickey Bay, I thought Mickey Bay hit him with some big shots and everything like that. And I really like Rances Bartholomew. He's one of my favorites. I think Garcia's too big. I really do. He's moving up in weight. You got Bartholomew moving up in weight to 130 now. I just think Garcia is going to be too big for him. I mean, Garcia looks like he could go up in weight. I don't see it, man. I think that he gives him a run for a few rounds, but man, he looked impressive. And as far as him and Terry Flanagan, he's talking about going. He said he'll go to the UK and fight Flanagan. How big of a fight is that over there? It's huge.
Yeah, that's a huge fight for him.
And I tell you what, I mean, for him to call him out and want to go there, I tell you, that's he's not playing around, man. This guy is the truth, man. This guy is a good fighter. Not that Flanagan isn't, but and I've seen Flanagan a couple of times, man. I really don't know if he has enough to deal with this guy.
No. As much as I like Flanagan, he has a style where he likes to be. He can box well from the outside. He's patient from the outside, but so is Mikey Garcia. And Mikey Garcia has a way of just making subtle moves that really open his opponent. He has so many ways to open up his opponent. And even though Terry Flanagan, for the most part, likes to use range and likes to fight from a distance, and he's very patient, at some point, I've seen him in fights, getting his opponent's chest. He has that fighter mentality, and he always at points resorts to going after his opponent and fighting and trying to pull him up against the ropes. And I think if he does that against Mikey Garcia, he's not going to be successful. He's not going to be as successful as he has been with other guys. And again, like you said, Mikey Garcia is a big guy. He's a strong guy, and he's a heavy hitter, and he's such a precise puncher. He always manages to land those shots so flush, and his technique is flawless. And you add all those things together, and that's just a recipe for disaster for his opponents. So definitely, Mikey Garcia is going to be the man in that division. And I'm going to talk about another guy, Tevin Farmer, who fought Ivan Redkach. And I haven't seen a ton of Tevin Farmer. I remember seeing him on a lot of those Golden Boy cards. And definitely a slickster. He's definitely a slickster. And in this fight, he was one step ahead of Kechek all night. He was pot shot from the outside. He was twisting and turning his shoulders, rolling shots, and then coming back with counter shots. So definitely the more athletically gifted guy, the better boxer all around. And it was a whitewash. It was definitely a whitewash. And Tony Harrison, the guy who opened up the Showtime card against Sergey Rabanchenko. This was a win that he really needed. Now he's going to be waiting in the wings. This is another division, junior middleweight, which is an awesome division. So after Charlo, I believe it's Jamal Charlo and J-Rock get it on, Tony Harrison's going to be waiting in the wings. And he just landed a beautiful right hand against Rabanchenko. And it didn't look as bad as it was perceived to be, I guess, from the referee, because the referee waved it off. It didn't look as bad, as the referee kind of indicated, because he waved the fight off in the 9th round. But, Rabanchenko didn't dispute the stoppage. He got up. He was a little shaky. But it was so funny because, Al Bernstein was mentioning how Tony Harrison had that fight, when he was stopped against Willie Nelson. And he was basically doing the same thing to Willie Nelson that he's doing to Rabanchenko. But, Rabanchenko wasn't really going all the way. He wasn't pushing Tony Harrison like Willie Nelson did. Because Willie Nelson, although he's a tall, lanky guy, he gets deep in the pocket, and he really gets physical, and he pushes his opponent. Whereas Rabanchenko was more of a mid-range hooker type. So he didn't really get deep in Harrison's chest. So Harrison was able to kind of have some space to do what he wanted to do in there, and he wasn't really exerting a ton of energy. He was just landing at will. He was like a sniper. And he just landed a right hand on the temple, and then he followed up with another right hand, and Rabanchenko could not deal with it. I mean, he got up. I thought he was going to continue, but referee saw something he didn't like. I know his legs were a tad bit wobbly, but we've seen fights like that go on. At the time, I thought it was a bad stoppage, but then when I saw the replay and I kind of saw the little chicken dance, I was like, okay. So Tony Harrison, man, he, definitely breathes life back into his career. He's back in the thick of things. He's back in the mix, and he's going to get a title shot at some point. I would think maybe to the beginning or middle of next year, after the the dust settles with J-Rock and Charlo. So that's going to be interesting. And again, Paulie Malignaggi fights and then commentates on the same night. What can you say about that? Gabriel Pissarro, when the first round started, and I seen Gabriel Pissarro land that big right hand on Paulie Malignaggi, and I saw the redness around Paulie Malignaggi's eyes. Actually, it was his right eye. I started saying to myself, this is going to be a long night for Paulie. It was reported that Paulie was he had to lose 33 pounds to get down to 146 in this fight. So he was up to 178, almost 180 in between fights. And his body looked smooth. It looked kind of soft. So, he's kind of working and easing his way into retirement. He's got to be retiring pretty soon. So, I saw that and I was like, okay. I looked at Paulie Malignaggi's body, and then I saw, how the first round started, and I saw him getting hit with right hands. And I said to myself, maybe the time is a little bit off. Because Paulie, he likes to kind of take that half step back. And he likes to roll away from the right hand. And as he's rolling from the right hand, he likes to come back and fire, his own counter shot, his own counter right hand. And at points in this fight, you could see how the timing was just a little bit off. Even though Bracero was slower and he's kind of a plotter type, you could say to yourself, if this fight took place 2 years earlier, Paulie Malignaggi probably would have stopped him, not because of his power, but because he just would have been carving up his face so bad. He would have just been countering everything he threw. But to Paulie Malignaggi's credit, even though the legs aren't what they used to be, the timing isn't what it's used to be. One thing he always has, and he's never lost over the years, is that jab. And that jab pretty much dictated the pace in this fight with Bracero. So I thought it was a great performance from Paulie Malignaggi. I had the fight 8 rounds to 2. And, it was kind of like a workman-like effort from Paulie Malignaggi because Bracero, he didn't stop. He kept coming. But, he's a guy that's just very limited. He doesn't have the speed or the athleticism. And he just doesn't have the skill set to deal with a guy like Paulie Malignaggi. So this was definitely the right opponent. I don't know what Paulie Malignaggi is going to do next. Hopefully he stays fighting this level of guy, and he doesn't try to fight the Keith Thurmans or the Danny Garcias of the world. Adrian Broner would still be an interesting rematch with Paulie Malignaggi, given how hot and cold Adrian Broner is, and given how he hasn't looked great lately either. But I think Paulie Malignaggi also mentioned about going back down to 140, and I forget the guy who they were mentioning that he was going to fight. One of the 140-pound champions. I forget who it was. Wasn't one of the great ones. But he mentioned going back down to 140. That would be interesting to see him go back down to 140 because if he had to lose 33 pounds to get down to 147 or 146, then I don't know how the hell he's going to make 140. It'd be interesting.
Let me ask you a question now. With Paulie Malignaggi, I mean, they were actually talking about him getting a title shot at 140.
Yeah, well, he was saying that he wanted a title shot at 140. And let me just double check who it was. I think I had it written down somewhere. It was one of the 140-pound champs that he was going to fight, that he wanted to fight. Let me just double check that. But yeah, he was talking about that. He was definitely talking about fighting someone. Let me see if I can pull it up.
Let me see if I can. Let's see here.
Actually, he wanted to fight Ricky Burns. That's who he's talking about fighting. I'm sorry, the WBA champion Ricky Burns. He was talking about fighting Ricky Burns. Yeah, that was a fight that he mentioned at 140, and that's I don't know, Stott. That would be an interesting fight, but just the fact of him getting down to 140, that would be kind of crazy. Yeah, Ricky Burns.
Does anybody? I mean, I don't. I mean, does he have a realistic chance of beating a guy like that? I mean, does he have a realistic chance of beating anybody with any kind? I mean, I don't know. He just seems like his to me is. I don't really know what he's doing, to be honest with you. I know he's fighting, obviously, but Gabriel Bracero is not exactly a world beater. The guy that he beat a few months ago in Italy isn't exactly a world beater. What is he doing exactly? I don't really get it. What are you fighting? I mean, because to me, if you can't be competitive for a title, then I don't know why you're fighting.
Oh,
and do you think? Asking you, do you think he can be competitive for a title?
No. This is sort of like what Roy Jones is doing right now. Roy Jones is just kind of. It's almost like, I don't know, if you play football or you play basketball. Well, actually, if you play basketball in high school, maybe you play basketball, junior college, get a 9-to-5 job, but you're still ball. So you join like a men's league, a seniors league or something. That's sort of like what these guys are doing in boxing. They know that they're not going to be in title contention. We heard what Roy Jones said. He's like, oh, well, I'm going to fight like 5 more times, and it's going to be against guys that I know I'm going to probably be able to handle. So it's not like these guys are going to put themselves, or they want to put themselves in position where they're going to get hurt. They know who they are at this point, and they still love the adrenaline rush, I'm guessing, because once that's in your system, it's like boxing's like crack to these guys. They're addicted to it. They like the euphoric feeling of being in that ring, people cheering for them. Just training, the build up to the fight. So I just think that's what it is. I think it's hard. And he even said, maybe it's my ego. It's just hard to let go. It's just hard to let go. You know what I mean? It's just hard to let go. So that's what I think it is. I don't think that they believe that they are what they once were in their prime. I just think that it's all about the ego. It's all about the adrenaline rush. And a lot of it is just not, facing reality. A lot of it has to do with being in denial to some degree. And who am I to judge? I've never been in the ring at that level. So I feel kind of bad or I feel kind of awkward even judging that. But at the end of the day, this isn't a pickup basketball game. This isn't a men's senior basketball league. This is a guy and another man trading shots where, damage can be done, to brain cells. So at the end of the day, it is what it is. Yeah, I'm not going to forget the money, Yayo, but Paulie Malignaggi said he's not fighting for the money. He said he's pretty well off. He's got a couple million in the bank, so I don't think he's fighting for the money. I don't think he made $1 million tonight fighting Rob Bracero. So
yeah, I don't think so either.
Ernesto asked me who won. Paulie Malignaggi won 8 rounds to 2. 8 rounds to 2 in a pretty one-sided fight. If you're asking me who won the Frampton fight, Frampton won the fight by majority decision over Leo Santa Cruz. These guys are funny. This chat, I like these guys in the chat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, one guy said,
last time I could see the chat. This time I can't see it.
Yeah, you gotta go to the I'm gonna give you the show link and you can click on the show link, but just make sure you mute the sound or the show will play in the background.
Okay.
I'll send it to you in the chat.
Oh, you know what? I think I see what you're saying. Yeah, and last time we had 2 going.
Yeah, here's the show link.
All right. Let me see.
Just make sure. Yeah, make sure you mute the sound or it's gonna play in the background.
Right.
But yeah. There's a lot of guys in the chat. And you guys, I know you guys have asked, we're going to be taking calls when we do this. And we are definitely going to be doing that. We're going to set this up. Ideally, we want all our shows to be done like this. This is definitely what we want to do. We're just going to Beeb actually does send links. Yeah, so we're going to be doing this. We want to do this all the time. And we wanted to be able to have Blog Talk be interactive with this. So, yeah, we're definitely going to do that. I don't want to dedicate the whole show to Paulie. I'm sorry, amen. That maybe that'll be another time, but it is what it is. I just want to mention one thing, and I don't want to go off topic, but, I want to talk about briefly this Terence Crawford Victor Postal fight because I picked Postal to win this fight. And I have no problem with saying Terence Crawford won this fight fair and square and he put on a masterclass performance. But the problem I'm having is all these other people that picked Postal, they're trashing Terence Crawford, calling Terence Crawford a runner, saying he ran in that fight after scoring 2 knockdowns, right? After hurting Victor Postal in multiple rounds. So I got to tell all you, and you guys know who you are out there, all you freaking crybabies, right? You know who you are, bitching and complaining, calling Crawford a runner, trying to diminish his performance. You got to win like a winner, and you got to take a loss like a man. So you got to be a good winner and you got to be a good loser. So you never hear me cry about a fight. I picked Sean Porter to win against Keith Thurman, and then the same people bitching and crying who picked Sean Porter. Oh, Sean Porter definitely outworked him. He should have got – no. This is how you can tell that I'm a real dude. Because if I pick somebody and they lose, I'm not going to make excuses why they lost. So I've been seeing a lot of videos about people calling Terence Crawford a runner. And you know what? You guys are delusional. If you think that was not a masterclass performance last week, then honestly, you need to go watch friggin' cricket or something. No offense to cricket fans. Or you need to go watch figure skating or something because this ain't the sport for you if you don't understand it. I mean, I just wanted to get that off my chest.
I got to be honest. I agree with you too. I'll tell you what, I've heard a lot of people saying that, Terence Crawford ran the fight. He did this, he did that. I don't see it, man. I really don't.
No.
I saw that he outboxed him. I thought he outboxed him really well. I thought he did a great job. I thought, he just outclassed Postal, and that's all there was to it. I mean, I thought Postal had a really good chance. I thought Postal, did a fair job in the fight. But at the end of the day, it was Crawford. It was Crawford's show. After the 5th round, I had it dead even, after the first 4 rounds. And in the 5th round, after those knockdowns, that was the fight. And all these people saying, well, Crawford should have finished the job. Crawford could have knocked him out. Hey, listen, you get in there and you see how difficult it is to knock out a professional fighter who's trying to stand in there and take your head off. It ain't that easy.
Postal, yes, Eric, I agree 100%. Postal is a world-class fighter.
Absolutely.
He's been in multiple fights, multiple amateur fights, extensive background in the sport of boxing. He's a guy that's not going to go away quietly. You know what I'm saying? He knew how to do everything in that fight but get knocked out. So he knew how to survive in that fight. And, he tried to do what he could do, but at the end of the day, Terence Crawford wasn't just going to – so what's Terence Crawford supposed to do? He knows if he moves, Postal can't hit him. So what's he supposed to allow Postal to hit him so you guys who pick Postal can watch a more competitive fight? When you say the word running, and when it's used in the sport of boxing, is code word for boxing, for outboxing somebody, for outclassing somebody, hitting, not get hit. And meanwhile, this guy's legs are doing the chicken dance. They're looking like spaghetti. His head snapping back. He gets knocked down twice. But Crawford's a coward. I've heard someone actually call Crawford a coward. Can you fucking believe that?
That's ridiculous. Completely ridiculous.
God. I'd love to see that person get in the ring with Crawford for 1 minute and see what Crawford will do to you. He's motherfucking.
And not to mention, Postal. You know what kills me about that whole thing is that everybody seems split. I mean, there was a lot of people picking Victor Postal, and like I said, Vegas had the odds at minus 550 or whatever. There was money coming in on Postal. Everybody, and people were split. A lot of people took Crawford, but a lot of people took Postal too. And everybody said that this was a good fight going in. This was definitely a good fight. Maybe not a pay-per-view fight, but a good fight. Solid, competitive fight, okay? So once Crawford dominates the fight, all of a sudden Postal's garbage. I don't get that.
Oh, yeah.
I don't get that. How is Postal garbage? Matisse, wasn't the same fighter when he fought him. You know what? I said that prior to the fight that Matisse wasn't the same guy. It still doesn't, he still knocked out a world-class fighter. It doesn't mean Postal's garbage. Absolutely. It just bothers me. I mean, how fickle sometimes people can be. I mean, and just not giving him credit because he didn't do what, they thought he should have done or what, they expected him to do. Look, man, I mean, I don't know how much better of a performance you could put in other than knocking him out. I mean,
guess
really.
What? And guess what, Eric? I guarantee you, if we go on Twitter tonight, tomorrow, we go on Facebook tonight, tomorrow, guess what they're going to say about Cruz? Oh, he was overrated. Oh, he's a bum. He's this, he's that.
Santa Cruz didn't fight anybody
Santa
before
Cruz fought his ass off tonight. Okay? If any one of you motherfuckers out there who call him overrated and a bum, if you can friggin' hit the bag for 30 seconds like Santa Cruz hits the bag or throws punches, then that'll be saying something. So enough with the fucking bullshit. You guys playing Sony PlayStation, Mike Tyson punch out bullshit. All right, never been in the ring in your fucking life. I mean, these guys are world-class fighters, man, and they're in with other world-class fighters. And you're not going to see basically a rock'em sock'em robot show every time out because that's not what the sport's about, man. That's not what the sport's about.
You and I have the advantage of watching this on TV. Okay. You, me, and everybody else have the advantage of watching fights on TV. And just like any other sport, we can look back at that instant replay in slow motion and say, you know what? He dropped his hand. He missed an opportunity there. Or he should have done this. He should have backed him up. We did it tonight at the soccer game. We said, this should have happened. This should have happened and so forth. The thing is, and I understand it, but look, I mean, if you haven't been in there, Go to a local gym, get some training, and spar. Just spar, okay? It doesn't have to be heavy sparring. It could be light sparring, whatever the case may be. Just spar 1 or 2 rounds. And you let me know how easy it is. You let me know how easy it is. Even if you fight a guy, even if you spar somebody where your talent level is above theirs, it's still not easy. And you still got to worry about what's coming back. It's not that easy. So everybody, saying that, Crawford should have done this or he should have done that or this fighter's garbage or Santa Cruz didn't fight anybody, that's why he was overrated. Come on, man. I mean, it's world-class fighters. Come on.
Exactly. And again, people are asking me, oh, did you box? Yeah, I boxed, but at a very low level. I was novice. I wasn't open class. I'm not, by me saying that I would, this is why, by me, again, you guys misconstrue everything and you just cherry pick things that are said. I appreciate it because I freaking got my ribs broken. I got my nose broken. And I'm not going to quit complaining. You know why? Because you guys don't – Mario G, you don't understand it, man. You don't understand it, bro. You don't understand it. Because you never boxed. So you never boxed. You don't have to be great, but at least try it. And then it's good to try it so you understand what they go through.
Yeah.
You got to understand what they go through. If you don't understand what they go through, then you shouldn't be calling people bums.
And nothing for something.
And to be honest with you, Mark Wahlberg would probably kick my ass. I think he would. I'm not saying I never said I was good, but I know how it feels to be in there. I know how it feels to get punched in the face. It's not like when you fight in the street and somebody breaks it up after 30 seconds. You know what I'm saying? So, you guys want to call people are making fun of Leo Santa Cruz, man. People are making fun of Leo Santa Cruz already. Oh, he only landed 300 punches and he threw 1,000. But look who he was in there with, man.
I agree.
Am I ever wrong? Yeah, I was wrong last week. I picked Victor Postol to win. I didn't cry when I lost. I was wrong last week. Max Kellerman, did he ever box? He boxed before, but not again. Just because you put when you go to the basketball court and you shoot hoops, I mean, you played basketball before. Does that mean you were in the NBA? Does that no? There's a difference between trying it and doing it at a novice level and then doing it professional or doing it at a high amateur level. That's all. That's all I'm saying. And all the guys, there's not one guy that ever boxed before that knows what a fighter goes through. Those aren't the guys that call other fighters bums. I'm just being honest with you. You ask any guy who's ever been in there before, and very rarely will you ever hear him call another fighter a bum. It just doesn't happen. But I'm gonna get off this topic because I'm going nowhere with some of these guys. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Santa Cruz, he landed 300 punches after throwing 1,000. Okay, but look who he was in there with. Same thing with Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao fought Juan Manuel Marquez. He wasn't landing at the same rate. Styles make fights. And this was a style going in that I thought was going to be very problematic for Santa Cruz. And I was right. So I was wrong last week, but I was right this week. And I'm going to tweet out the beating with the odds balance sheet too, because we have a shitload of losses, but we're still up. We're still up, man. We're still up. We're up like $360. And that's like we have like 12 losses on the friggin' ledger. You know what I'm saying? We're at like a 60% losing streak and we're still up. Because guess what? Yeah, Beeb is gonna preach because you guys let me have it when I lost last week, right? So I'm gonna be the rooster this week because I won. How's that? How you like that? That's right.
Nothing for something is on fire tonight, man. I tell you what.
You guys jumped into this, right? So you got to listen to the shit now. You did it to yourself. You did it to yourself. You clicked on the link. You clicked on the link. You did it to yourself. You already know me. I rant. I'm a nut. You know I got psychological issues. You know that, but you still click the fucking link. That's your fucking fault. All I can say is, UK, another world champion. Yeah.
Beeb has just gone nuts. I think Beeb has just gone crazy.
leave Robbie alone, man. Leave Robbie alone.
Yeah, nothing for something has some really good lines in here so far. But one of the caller, I guess one of the people in the chat have asked if Robbie's ever boxed. And
no, Robbie is not boxed.
No, Robbie has cerebral palsy, as he's mentioned on the show before, and he's unable to box or do anything sports wise like that. Actually, he was, I believe, and Robbie can talk about this better than I can. He actually was in the Olympics. He was actually in the Special Olympics. I think in track, if I'm not mistaken, and I think he medaled, if I'm not mistaken. But he said he'll tell the story. He met Barry Tompkins and everything like that, and they talked boxing when he was younger. So yeah.
Someone just asked me, not to cut you off, Eric. Someone just asked me if I was Mexican. I'm not Mexican.
That's right. I'm the Mexican one.
Eric is Mexican. I'm half Lebanese. I'm half Lebanese Italian.
There you go. That's Mexican at heart. That's right. That's right. Paralympics not special. I think you're, Bullet Truth. I think you're probably right. I think it might have been I don't know. Maybe it was the Paralympics.
That's correct. Lebanese, Tony.
Yeah.
I thought Frampton won too, but I had it 116 to 112. 117, 111 was wide, but I had it 8-4.
I had it 115. I had it 7-5. I had a 115, 113 for Frampton. But the thing is, the one common denominator here is we all agree that Frampton won the fight. I thought he landed the harder punches.
This is the thing, and this is another thing that I mentioned during my pre-fight. Gave him all the first 6 rounds. He gave him all the 6. I gave him 5 of the first 6. So I thought he lost, rounds in the second half. But I don't think it could have went either way, though. I think at best it could have been a draw. Even Santa Cruz said to himself, "Oh, I think I should have at least got a draw." I don't think Santa Cruz thinks he won this fight. I think he was hoping for a draw. I mean, I don't know for sure. But he actually said the words, it could have been, I should have got, or I could have been a draw. I don't think I think this could have been at best, this could have been a draw for Santa Cruz. I don't think he won, though. He may have done enough. I think, honestly, in my own opinion, at best, it was a 115, 113 fight for Frampton. I thought Frampton, in my opinion, clearly won the fight. I thought he clearly won the fight. That's just what I thought. But if someone had it a draw, I don't think that's an incredulous scorecard. What does Frampton do next? He fights Lee Selby. That's a given. He fights Lee Selby in a big stadium in the UK, and I probably might even go there, man. I may even go there. I may even show up on friggin' EJ Boxing's doorstep, and I may sleep on the couch because I want to be there, man. I want to be there.
Frank Serrato had said he'd asked in the chat here that did he think the crowd made any difference?
No, because the crowd was 50-50.
So either.
The crowd was 50-50.
I thought the left hooks made the difference, the ones that Frampton threw. I don't think at all. And like I said, I mean, it was a very split crowd. I mean, they were loud, but no, I don't think the crowd made any difference at all, no.
I honestly don't. I thought it was Leah Santa Cruz kind of was a little bit staggered. I thought he was legitimately hurt because he got hit on the temple, which was a balanced shot. Yeah, he was definitely. I thought he was hurt. Second round. Round.
And then Mario De La Hoya said you guys are sleeping on the work that Leo did. No, I don't think so. But I think what you're missing here is that Frampton landed the harder shots, and the amounts of power punches were basically even, I think. So I think
Mario, what was your scorecard? Did you have Santa Cruz winning, or did you have it a draw? What did you have it, Mario? Let me see what he says. Did anyone have Santa Cruz winning this fight? Did anyone have Santa Cruz winning this fight? First of all,
I saw a tie. Somebody had it a tie, which I don't hate. I mean, I don't hate that.
I'm not against a draw. I'm not against a draw. Like I said, I'm
all.
not against a draw. I think it's. I think.
He's
Wow,
115 Santa Cruz.
Wow, Mario had a 115.
So
wow.
So, and you know what? I don't hate that either, because you know what? He was judging. I think that, if
Mario G had it a draw. I can respect that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. And De La Hoya's had it a draw, or had a 115, 113 for Cruz, and he was basing it on his busyness, So, yeah, it's a tough fight to score. It's just what you like. I mean, that's what makes it great. And stuff like this it's subjective, because if you like the harder shots, then Frampton was your guy. I thought that Frampton overall did a better job, but you can't discount. I mean, Leo Santa Cruz was throwing a lot of shots. I'll be very interested. I didn't get a chance to see the end punch box results, but I'll be very curious to see them for sure.
Cruz is Mexican American.
Cruz is from Mexico. Yeah, Santa Cruz is from Mexico. He was
born in Mexico.
Yeah, he was born in Mexico. Yeah,
I stand corrected. I stand corrected. I thought he was born in America. Well,
so did I.
His life in America, no?
Yeah.
I believe he lived most of his life in America. That's like saying AJ is African.
Well, awesome. In his defense, AJ does have a tattoo of Africa on his shoulder, so there you go.
Yeah.
Either way, Donald Trump is going to put up a wall keeping him out, so don't worry about it.
I know.
Unbelievable.
So we have one winner, and everyone else. I'm going to say the majority of people out there, I would think, are going to say Frampton won this fight. I think that would be a safe bet to say that. Safe assessment.
I think that's safe. Yeah, I think so. I think the decision went the right way, for sure. And like I said, I mean, it was a good fight. It was a close fight. It was a competitive fight. But just much like Thurman Porter, I think the decision went the right way. I'd love to see a rematch. In fact, do you think that's next? I mean, do you think instead of him fighting Selby
first? No, I think Selby's first. Yeah, and then I think the rematch is after that. That's what I think is going to happen.
I would love to see.
You know what the best thing about? Go ahead, finish.
I would love to see Santa Cruz and Scott Quigg. That's the fight to make. To me, anyway, that's the fight to make.
I mean, that fight will definitely get made too. And let's not forget, Scott Quigg and Santa Cruz rematch can definitely be made too.
Trump for
That's
UK.
Not out of the realm of possibility. Trump for UK. Whether you agree with, but listen to this, whether you agree with Trump or not, I think Trump is going to win. I actually think Trump is going to win this election.
I disagree. I disagree with that, man. I think that he's got way too much uphill for the electoral votes. He may win, and I think, even though the polls are coming out, you got to look at the electoral votes in that electoral map. And when you look at that, he's got a tough road to hoe there, right there.
I actually think Quigg could beat. I think he could. That's a tough one, though. That's a tough one.
Rigo, it would be. Somebody had just mentioned, that Rigo could beat Frampton or Santa Cruz, and you may very well be right. But let's remember, Rigo wouldn't move up and wait to fight Lomachenko. He wanted Lomachenko at a catch weight. He wouldn't move up and wait. So it would be very interesting to see Rigo jump up and wait. The problem is that nobody is going to fight that guy because it's a lot of risk, not a lot of reward. No one wants to see him. Not very.
I still don't. I still think Frampton beats him, though. I think Frampton beats him.
Who, Rigo now?
I do. Right now, I do.
Man, I don't know, man. Rigo.
I think he does.
Slick.
I mean, I could be wrong. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying definitely. I would. It's a lock. It's not a lock. But I would pick him.
Yeah, it's not right. It's not a lock, but it's a good fight. Yeah, that's a good fight. But like I said, man, And do you think that Rigondeaux is going to find success in London, in the UK? Because he hasn't found success here as far as crowd and as far as people,
What do I need to stop, Robert? What do I need to stop? Explain it to me. What did I do? What did I do now? By saying Frampton would beat Rigo. I believe it. I was stopped when I said Frampton was going to beat Santa Cruz. I was supposed to stop when I said that, right? But I didn't. And you know what the best part about this fight was?
Beads on the sauce. Yeah, Rigo's September fight is in the UK too. Yeah.
Well, I mean, what would be a good thing to do is just put Rigo on the undercard. But put Rigo on the undercard of Selby Frampton. Build it up.
I think that's largely Rigo's problem, is that he hasn't been promoted right. I really 100% believe that. You look at Floyd Mayweather and you tell me he's an exciting fighter. He's not. He's not exciting at all. You look at Pernell Whitaker and you tell me he was an exciting fighter. He's not. If you like boxing, he's great. I like boxing. I like the scientific type of fighters like that. I like the defensive fighters. But that being said, you got a guy with Rigo who has no real promoter and nobody, he doesn't have any real personality. He may, but he doesn't speak English, so nobody knows. I think you go and put him in the UK, put him on those undercards, start building his brand, start building him up. He's only got, 15, 16 pro fights.
Someone just asked me who was ever competitive with Rigo. When Rigo won his first world title, you know he won it by split decision, right? It was a real close fight.
Who was the guy in Japan that knocked him down a couple of times?
Yeah, I forget the guy who.
I forget too,
some guy. But I remember watching. Rigo win the world title. It was on a pay-per-view undercard. I can't remember who it was, and it was a close-ass fight. I thought he won, but he won by the skin of his ass. So yeah, I mean, I've seen Rigo, look shaky in some fights too. Let's not forget. Even though he kicked the hell out of friggin' Donaire. Donaire did knock him down. He hurt him.
Yeah. And I mean, like I said, and that was his coming out fight. I mean, you had, with him and Donaire, that was his coming out fight. And I remember that was on HBO. And I remember the commentators, of course, went nuts over Rigo. And that was it. That was really pretty much the last time you saw him.
Yeah. And I gotta be honest too, like all these people that hate watching Rigondeaux fight, I don't know, man. I just think they're too hard on him. I actually don't think he's bad to watch. Yeah, he did totally outclass Donaire. There's no question about that. But I don't know, like the way he's talked about, like he's like horrible to watch. How much different is he? Like you said, how much different is he than Floyd?
HBO really didn't do him any favors on that pay-per-view. No. On that pay-per-view, they completely buried that guy. And he just got that reputation after that. I mean, I don't understand how they can be so one-sided to certain fighters and then a guy on their pay-per-view.
I remember, yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't. I remember the guy. I think the guy's last name was Casey, but I want to find out his full name. The guy he won. Was it Actually, I'm sorry. It was Ricardo. Willie Casey. He won by TKO. I remember that. Ricardo Cordoba, split decision victory. That was in 2010. That was the last time he was in a tough fight. Yeah, Ricardo Cordoba. I remember that fight. That was in Cowboys Stadium. That was when that was on the Pacquiao Joshua Clottey undercard. I remember that fight. That won the WBA World Super Bantamweight title. I remember that. Yep. It was a pay-per-view undercard. It was on Joshua Clottey mini Pacquiao. I remember that fight.
Yeah,
it's the last. Go ahead.
What's that? I was going to say it'll be real interesting to see where he goes from here and where it takes him now. Like I said, he's in the UK now. and hopefully they build him up. They seem to know how to build fighters. They seem to know what they're doing in the promotion. So hopefully he gets a kind of a born-again shot.
Oh, someone just told me Tyson Fury is suing. I hope this isn't in the itinerary tomorrow, Eric. Did you know Tyson Fury is suing the tabloid that accused him of taking PEDs? Did you know that?
Yeah, I sure did. I did. He's suing them. And
is that in the itinerary tomorrow?
Yeah.
I apologize because someone just threw it in the chat. I didn't know. I opened up the itinerary, but I didn't pop the whole thing open, like all the way down yet. But yeah, that's crazy. I didn't know that. Rigo's on Fox Nation, not Sky Sports. Go ahead, Eric.
Also, too, just say if anybody's interested, the UFC card was tonight. Robbie Lawler and Tyron Woodley was on tonight for the middleweight title. Tyron Woodley defeats Robbie Lawler in one round via TKO punches. Wow. So knocked him out. So there you go. There's your UFC.
Can you guys believe Holly-Holm lost another fight? She lost back-to-back fights after beating Ronda Rousey. So that poses the question, and I hate to friggin' put shade on anything, but did Holly-Holm just catch Ronda Rousey at the right time? Was she in the right place at the right time? Because we all know how Ronda Rousey was going through things. She was suffering a lot of criticism from the press. She's had all that negative stories coming out. I guess she abused her boyfriend or something like that. And she just wasn't feeling right. I guess she was overwhelmed by all the pressure and stuff. I know it comes with the territory, but do you guys think that was Holly-Holm's Buster Douglas moment, and that's all she's ever going to do in the UFC? What do you guys think?
No.
Okay.
I couldn't disagree with you more.
Okay.
Holly-Holm is like I say, a world-class boxer, and everybody knows that she holds multiple titles in the in women's boxing and everything. Valentina Shevchenko, the one who beat her the other night, is like a Muay Thai specialist.
Yeah.
And she is as nasty as they come. I mean, she is absolutely mean. And she can fight, as evidenced the other night. And I thought Holly-Holm won the first round, and Valentina just took over the fight. And it doesn't mean that Holly-Holm is bad. And that fight was actually very close. It was, she was losing the rounds, but it was very competitive fight. Dangerous fighter is Valentina, man. And I tell you that, while the result definitely surprised me, it surprises you and it doesn't, knowing Valentina's background with Muay Thai. She's a champion. Yeah. I mean, when you got a boxer in there against somebody who does Muay Thai, they're used to throwing, and not that Holly isn't an MMA specialist either, but you got Valentina who's been doing, this is the family business for them. This is what they do. This is what they teach. So yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where every fight in the UFC is tough, and very few people, remain undefeated for any length of time, because the talent is so rich there that you go, and there's so many ways to lose. That's the other thing too. I mean, look at you take a guy like Mayweather, okay, or Regendow or something like that, who can jab their way, move, and they're so fleet of foot that it's hard to catch. They box so well that it's tough. Look, man, you get caught with a shin, you get caught with a foot, you get caught with one of those knees. Did you see what is it? Cyborg Santos fought the other night.
Oh my God.
The guy
yes.
just got his skull crushed. They had to put a plate in his skull, and you could see it. It was right on his forehead. I mean, there are so many ways to lose, so that's the thing, man. So no, I don't think Holly-Holm is overrated. I don't think that, she's not going to do anything. I just think that, it's such a, in that division she's in, there's a bunch of killers in there, man. A lot of good talent. So very good.
She just beat Miesha Tate, right? But she lost to Kat Zingano, and Kat Zingano beat Miesha Tate. But what's her name?
Scrub.
Yeah, what's her name? Ronda Rousey beat Kat Zingano and beat Miesha Tate. So you see how this is so weird. Like it's weird. It's weird how like fighter A can be fighter B and then fighter B can be fighter C, but fighter A can't be fighter C. So it's just crazy how that works, man.
And yeah, combat sports, whether it's boxing or MMA,
Styles.
the math doesn't work. The math doesn't work. That triangle theory just doesn't work.
Styles make fights, I guess.
Absolutely. Batman Boxing just said the same thing. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, and I mean, I see Juliana Pena, Amanda Nunez, all these girls. They're being mentioned in the chat right now. That's the thing, man. That's such a rich division right there. That it's tough, man.
All right, we're gonna go back to boxing because I know you guys are cringing. We're talking about MMA, but we're talking about
boxing,
sports.
Bullet Truth boxing, please.
All right, so we're gonna wrap it up. We're gonna ask you guys, what fight would you like to see the most? Who would you like to see Carl Frampton fight? Lee Selby, Guillermo Rigondeaux, Scott Quigg rematch, Leo Santa Cruz rematch, Gary Russell Jr. What do you got? What's up, Eric Cruz? What do you guys want to see next? I want to see Lee Selby. Actually, you know what I want? I want to see Gary Russell, Carl Frampton. That's what I want to see next. Oh shit, Rigo. What? Everyone wants to see. Well, what y'all think of Tony? I like Tony Harrison. I thought he did good. Wow, everyone wants a Carl Frampton Rigo fight in the UK. Santa Cruz rematch, Frampton Russell, Selby. Okay. Majority of people want to see the Rigo fight though.
That fight's not going to happen. That fight's not going to happen. They've already said before. That fight's not going to happen. They said, and both Barry McGuigan and Eddie Hearn has both said that it's too much risk and not enough reward. So Rigo is pretty much out unless they can build his brand, find a way to build his brand. That fight is going to go by the wayside.
And plus Rigo is still at 122, so he'd still have to come up. But I think at this point though, Frampton's bigger now. He's bigger than Rigo. Rigo doesn't rehydrate that much. He's kind of a small dude. He's getting older. I think the stars are all aligned just perfectly for Frampton to beat Rigo right now, in my opinion. I know there's a lot of other people disagree, but you were the same people that disagreed when I said Frampton was going to beat Santa Cruz, so it doesn't really matter. All I can say is UK once again, another champion. All right, guys, we're going to wrap this up. Thank you all for watching. It's been great. Another great fight. We're gonna eventually have the main show be on like this once we're able to integrate Blog Talk Radio with YouTube. We're right around the corner and learning how to do that. Eric's going to be working on that, and you guys are welcome to call in. Tomorrow we're going to have the regular Blog Talk show, so make sure you join in 7 p.m. Eastern time. We'll send out the link to that show. If you guys want to call into that show, the phone number will be on the link, so definitely call in. Thank you guys for enjoying the show. I'm glad you enjoyed it, and we'll be doing a lot more of this. Peace out, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
All right. It says stopping, but hasn't stopped yet.